You deserve to be happy, not because the world owes it to you, not because someone else decides it, but because happiness is your birthright. No matter who you are, where you are, what you've done, or what you've failed to do, you deserve to be happy here and now without conditions. But we've been lied to. We've been told that happiness is a destination, something to chase, something always just out of reach. When I have more money, when I find love, when everything falls into place. And so we spend our lives running after a shadow, believing happiness lies outside of us. But the Buddha saw the truth clearly over 2,500 years ago. Happiness is not something you find, it's something you unlock. It's not the result of having more, it's the art of needing less. It's not something the world gives you, it's something that awakens when you let go of what you never were. The question is, are you ready to stop searching and start living? Today, I'll share with you 5 Buddhist keys to happiness. These aren't just advice or pretty phrases. They are truths that have transformed lives for centuries. If you understand them, if you apply them, you'll never have to chase happiness again, because you'll discover it was always within. So get ready, because after this, you'll never see life the same way again. Before we dive in, if you're ready to unlock true happiness, make sure to hit like and subscribe, because wisdom like this is meant to be shared. Now let's begin. Key 1. Happiness isn't in the future, it's in the now. Listen closely. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path your whole life. You've been taught to look ahead, to strive, to push yourself, to achieve more. You've been told that happiness is waiting for you in the future, when you reach certain goals, when everything is perfect. But let me ask you something. How many times have you achieved something you wanted, only to feel like something was still missing? That's the illusion. The future doesn't exist, it hasn't arrived. It's just a mirage in your mind. But there is something that does exist, something that never leaves, something that has always been with you and will be with you until your last breath, this very moment. The first Buddhist key to happiness is anchoring yourself in the now, because happiness isn't found in someday. It doesn't depend on when this or that happens. Happiness happens when you wake up to the truth of this moment. The Buddha explained it with brutal clarity. Suffering arises from desire, from resisting what is. When you want what you don't have, you suffer. When you resist what you do have, you suffer. But when you simply are present, when you accept this moment exactly as it is, without trying to change it or cling to it, peace happens. Happiness happens. Think about the last time you were truly happy, not when you achieved something big, but those small moments of pure happiness. An unexpected laugh, feeling the sun on your face, hearing your favorite song, hugging someone you love. Do you realize it always happens when you're present? When you're not thinking about the past or worrying about the future. So how do you apply this? Start right now, breathe, feel the air entering your lungs, hear the sounds around you, feel life vibrating in this moment. You don't need anything more. You don't need anything to change. You are here, and being here is enough. Every time your mind starts racing toward the future or getting stuck in the past, stop, breathe, come back to this instant, because in this instant, if you stop judging, if you stop resisting, happiness is already here and you don't have to do anything to deserve it. You just have to realize it. Key 2, suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from how you react. Everything in life is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. Not pain, not pleasure, not sadness, not joy. Yet, when something makes us happy, we cling to it with all our might, as if we could stop time and freeze that moment. And when something hurts us, we resist, we fight, we ask, why me? As if suffering were a personal injustice. But the truth is, life has no favorites and no enemies. Life is change. Life is flow. Life is a river in constant motion, and suffering appears when you refuse to flow with it. The Buddha taught, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can't avoid life bringing changes, losses, or challenges, but you can choose how you face them. If you fight reality, if you cling to what no longer is, if you wish everything were different, that's where suffering is born. But if you accept, If you let go, if you trust the natural flow of life, peace finds its way. Imagine a leaf floating down a river. It doesn't fight the current. It doesn't try to control where it goes, it simply flows. Now imagine a person caught in that same river, struggling, resisting, clinging to a rock with all their strength because they're afraid of what lies ahead. That's the difference between suffering and acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means letting go of the need for things to be different than they are in this moment. It's understanding that what happened no longer exists. What's coming isn't here yet. The only thing you can truly experience is this instant. Look at your life. How many things are you still carrying that should have been let go? How many moments from the past still weigh on your heart? How many times have you clung to something, believing you couldn't be happy without it? Now imagine what it would feel like to let go. Imagine what it would feel like to accept each moment as it is, without labeling it good or bad, without resisting. Do you feel the lightness? Do you feel the peace? That's where true happiness begins. The next time life tests you, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" change the question. Ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of resisting, observe. Instead of clinging, release. Because the more you resist, the more you suffer. But when you accept, when you flow, life stops being a struggle and becomes a journey. Key 3. Happiness isn't in what you have, but in what you are. From the moment we're born, the world programs us to believe we need more to be happy. More money, more success, more recognition, more love, more things. We're made to feel like we're incomplete, that there's a void inside us that can only be filled by achievements, possessions, or validation from others. And so we become eternal seekers, beggars of happiness, always waiting for the next goal, the next purchase, the next relationship to bring us the peace that never seems to arrive. But here's the truth the Buddha taught. Nothing external can give you true, lasting happiness. Why? Because everything external is temporary. Everything you acquire, everything. You build everything you chase. Sooner or later it changes. It fades. It wears out. If your happiness depends on it, then your happiness is fragile, fleeting, vulnerable. Look around you. There are people who have everything and are deeply unhappy, and there are people who have little and live in peace. The difference isn't in what they possess, it's in how they see life, in what they carry inside. Because true happiness doesn't come from accumulating, it comes from learning to be happy with less. From freeing yourself from the need for something external to complete you. In Buddhism, there's a key concept called santosha, contentment, not resignation, not settling. It's the art of being at peace with what you have right now. It's knowing that in this moment, no matter what you have or lack, you are already enough. You already have everything you need to be at peace. Imagine for a moment that everything external disappeared. Your job, your money, your possessions. Would you still be you? Would you still have value? The answer is yes, because what you truly are has nothing to do with what you own. That's why the most powerful practice you can do is gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you lack, on what you think you need to be happy, start looking at what you already have. Not just material things, but the gift of being alive, of breathing, of experiencing this moment. The next time you feel like something is missing for you to be happy, stop and ask yourself, do I really need more? Or do I just need to change how I see what I already have? Because happiness isn't in what you acquire, it's in what you choose to value. Key 4. Stop clinging to what you can't control. Much of human suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from the internal struggle against what we can't change. We spend our lives trying to control everything: circumstances, people, the future. We want things to be a certain way. We want people to act as we expect. We want life to fit our plans. And when it doesn't, we suffer. We get frustrated. We get angry. We agonize. But here's the truth: control is an illusion. You can't control what others think of you, whether someone stays or leaves, what life puts in your path. You can do your best. You can prepare. You can act wisely. But in the end, there are a million factors beyond your reach. The Buddha taught, suffering arises from attachment. And one of our biggest attachments, the need to control. We cling to the idea that if everything went our way, we'd be happy. But life doesn't work like that. Life is uncertain, unpredictable, and the more you try to control it, the more frustration you create. Think of a storm. You can yell at the sky, be angry at the rain, complain about the thunder, but none of that will change the fact that the storm will follow its course. But if you accept that you can't stop it, you simply take an umbrella or find shelter until it passes. The same happens with life. If you stop resisting what you can't change, suffering disappears. This doesn't mean being passive. It means focusing your energy on what you can control, and the only thing you truly control is your mind, your actions, your attitude toward what happens. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can I respond to this in the best way?" Instead of wanting someone to change, work on how you relate to them. Instead of worrying about the future, focus on what you can do today. Every time you catch yourself trapped in worry or frustration over something beyond your control, stop and ask yourself these 3 questions. Can I do something about this right now? If yes, do it. If no, let it go. Am I reacting from fear or from calm? Breathe. Adjust your focus. Am I wasting energy on something that doesn't depend on me? If yes, shift your attention to what you can do. When you learn to let go of control, life becomes lighter. Not because everything goes your way, but because you no longer need it to in order to be at peace. You accept what is. You act where you can, and you trust that whatever happens, you have the strength to adapt and move forward. True freedom isn't in controlling life, but in learning to flow with it. Key 5. Stop identifying with your mind and connect with your true self. From the moment we're born, we're taught to define ourselves by our thoughts. We believe we are our names, our stories, our achievements and failures, our opinions, our memories. But Buddhism tells us something radical. You are not your mind. Your mind is just a tool, a never-ending internal narrator. And that narrator has a dangerous habit. It creates stories about you and the world, stories that often aren't real. It tells you, you're not enough. You should be different. The past defines you. The future is a threat. And without realizing it, you start believing everything it says. But here's the truth. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one hearing it. Think about this. If you can observe a thought, that means there's something in you separate from it. There's a deeper awareness, something in you that's vaster than any idea, any emotion, any memory. That is your true essence. That's what Buddhism calls the witness, the awakened mind, the being that observes. Suffering happens when you identify with the mind without questioning it. If a thought says, "I'm a failure," you believe it. If it says, "My life has no meaning," you take it as absolute truth. But what if you learn to observe your thoughts like clouds in the sky? They appear and disappear, but the sky remains untouched. The goal of Buddhism isn't to eliminate thoughts, but to stop being their prisoner. And the key to doing that? Meditation, not a mystical ritual, not something complicated, just the act of stopping, breathing, and observing what's happening in your mind without reacting. When you do this often, you start noticing something incredible. Most of your thoughts have no real power. They only affect you if you cling to them. Every time a negative thought traps you, ask yourself, is this thought an absolute truth or just an interpretation? If you learn to do this, if you train your mind not to identify with every thought, you'll experience something few people do: inner freedom. The freedom not to be a slave to your past story. The freedom not to let your emotions drag you. The freedom to choose how you live each moment, without being a victim of your own mind. When you let go of identifying with the ego, with the ideas of who you think you are, you discover something astonishing. Behind all that, there's an unshakable peace, a happiness that doesn't depend on anything external, not an emotion, not euphoria, not something that comes and goes. It's simply the feeling of being at home within yourself, without needing anything more. The final secret of happiness, when you stop searching for it, you find it, because it was always inside you. Your choice. Now, after all we've discussed, I want you to remember one thing. Happiness isn't something you need to search for outside yourself. It isn't something someone can give you. It's something already within you, waiting to be discovered. The Buddha's teachings aren't just theory. They aren't pretty words to reflect on and then forget. They're powerful tools, and like any tool, they only work if you use them. Think of these 5 keys as keys to a door to a freer, lighter, more conscious life. But they'll only open that door if you decide to pick them up and turn them in the lock, if you decide to practice them again and again until they become part of you. So don't let this be just another video, just another idea you heard and forgot. Put it into practice. Notice how your mind pulls you away from the present and return to this instant. Learn to let go of what you can't control. Stop clinging to what's temporary. Find peace in what you already have, and most importantly, stop identifying with your mind and connect with what you truly are. If you apply these keys, if you make them your way of living, something incredible will happen. Suffering will lose its power over you, and happiness, the one you always believed was so far away, will reveal itself in the simplest, most ordinary moments, in every breath, in every instant. The choice is yours. Will you keep living trapped in the endless search, or will you dare to wake up? Leave a comment below. I am awake. Start today. Start now. And discover that happiness was always here, waiting for you to recognize it. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe and share. Blessings.